Today, I'm going to talk about an amazing book named Man's Search for Meaning by Victor Frankl. It is a timeless formula for survival, written by a prominent Viennese psychiatrist who vividly describes all the experiences that both he and others in Auschwitz concentration camp endured. It's a gem of a dramatic narrative focused upon the deepest of human problems. The most valuable life lessons are the biggest takeaways from this book. Viktor Frankl's memoir has riveted generations of readers with its descriptions of life in Nazi death camps and its lessons for spiritual survival. Between 1942 and 1945, Frankl labored in 4 different camps, including Auschwitz, while his parents, brother, and pregnant wife perished. Based on his own experience and the experiences of others he treated later in his practice, Frankl argues that we cannot avoid suffering, but we can choose how to cope with it, find meaning in it, and move forward with renewed purpose. Frankl's theory, known as Logotherapy, from the Greek word logos, meaning, holds that our primary drive in life is not pleasure, as Freud maintained, but the discovery and pursuit of what we personally find meaningful. The author keeps reiterating the fact that we always have a choice in our lives. He emphasizes that everything can be taken away from us except the ability to choose our attitude in any given set of circumstances. What we become is the result of an inner decision and not just the external influences around us. Frankl came to believe that man's deepest desire is to search for meaning and purpose. Like so many German and East European Jews, Frankl was cast into the Nazi network of concentration and extermination camps. Still, his account in this book is less about his own travails, suffering, and losses, and more about the sources of his strength to survive. There are many valuable life lessons in this book that can be genuinely life-changing for readers. Here, I'm presenting the top 25 of them. Lesson 1. The search for meaning. Victor keeps reiterating, he who has a why to live for can bear almost any how. This means that if you have found the purpose of your life, which is different for each person, you'll find ways to fulfill that purpose or achieve that goal. Life is not primarily a quest for pleasure or power, but a quest for meaning. The great task for any person is to find meaning in their life. Finding meaning means seeing life as meaningful despite your circumstances. Lesson 2. Existential vacuum. Sometimes people go through a phase of existential vacuum, feeling the total and ultimate meaninglessness of their lives. They lack awareness of a meaning worth living for, leading to inner emptiness. To find meaning, you must search for it actively and fulfill it through your choices. Lesson 3. Suicide's existential vacuum. The feeling of emptiness and meaninglessness can lead to despair and, in extreme cases, suicide. Finding meaning can prevent this tragic outcome. Lesson 4. Meaning in work. Frankl saw 3 possible sources for meaning in work: doing something significant, caring for another person, and discovering purpose through work. Even in suffering, you can find meaning through your work and the way you approach it. Lesson 5. Freedom to choose. Forces beyond your control can take everything from you except your freedom to choose how you respond to the situation. You have the power to control your attitude and actions in any circumstance. Lesson 6. Self-esteem. Those whose self-esteem depends on the respect of others can be emotionally destroyed. It's essential to maintain your self-worth and not rely solely on external validation. Lesson 7. Don't aim at success. Aiming directly at success can lead to missing it. Success, like happiness, ensues when you dedicate yourself to a cause greater than yourself or surrender to something outside yourself. Lesson 8. Humor. Developing a sense of humor and seeing things in a humorous light can help cope with suffering and adversity. Lesson 9. The last freedom. Everything can be taken from a person except one thing: the last of human freedoms, the ability to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. Lesson 10. Meaning in life. Life's meaning can be found through 3 avenues: creating or achieving something, experiencing life deeply, and turning tragedy into triumph. Lesson 11. No situation repeats itself. Every situation is unique and calls for a different response. The meaningful thing to do depends on the situation and your values. Lesson 12. What you have experienced, no one can take away your experiences, accomplishments, thoughts, or suffering. They are part of your unique existence. Lesson 13. Suffering as an achievement. Suffering can be seen as a human achievement, especially when it results from existential frustration, and it is not a mental disease. Lesson 14. The true meaning of life is to be discovered in the world rather than within oneself or one's psyche. It's found through self-transcendence and contributing to something greater than oneself. Lesson 15. The meaning of love allows us to grasp the essence of another human being and help them realize their potential. It's a powerful source of meaning. Lesson 16. The transitoriness of existence. Life's transitoriness doesn't make it meaningless but emphasizes our responsibility to make the most of every moment. Lesson 17. The tragic triad. Life involves pain, guilt, and death. Despite these challenges, one can find meaning by creating, experiencing, and triumphing over adversity. Lesson 18. The pessimist. Optimism is a choice. A pessimist fears the future, while an optimist embraces the present and past. Lesson 19. Psychological concepts. Frankl discusses psychological concepts like hyperintention, hyperreflection, and paradoxical intention to address issues like anticipatory anxiety. Lesson 20. Finding meaning. Part 1. One can find meaning in life through creating, experiencing, or turning tragedy into triumph. Lesson 21. Finding meaning. Part 2. Life remains potentially meaningful under any condition, even in the face of suffering. Lesson 22. Finding meaning. Part 3. Conscience guides us in finding meaning by evaluating situations based on a hierarchy of values. Lesson 23. Finding meaning. Part 4. The value of each person stays with them. We should not confuse usefulness with dignity. Lesson 24. Finding meaning. Part 5. Old age should not be pitied but envied because it's a time when one can reflect on a life filled with experiences and achievements. Lesson 25. The final message. Life remains potentially meaningful, and each person can find their unique meaning despite challenges. If you enjoyed this episode and found it valuable, please consider subscribing, leaving a review, and sharing it with others. Your support helps us continue to create content like this. If you have any suggestions for future books you'd like us to explore, or if you have any feedback on this episode, please feel free to comment below.